Beyblade X Season 2 is coming to a close, and while the season itself wasn't too crazy, the new bays introduced were insane. We got heavy hitters like Impact Drake, surprise meta threats like Hover Wyvern, and the release and improvement of Beyblade CX, a very controversial lineup of bays that had a bumpy start, but is slowly seeing more and more use in competitive play. While all these new releases have treated us players incredibly well, there has been one issue with all these new products that I don't think anyone was expecting. Whether we like it or not, having access to new bays with many competitive parts has led to Beyblade X becoming increasingly more expensive, at least in terms of the competitive scene. Now immediately, I know this is a hot take, but I do believe that I can back it up, with a few reasons. The first one being that these new competitive Beyblade X parts are locked behind pretty expensive paywalls.
Hello, I like money.
Now one thing I noticed pretty quickly when these new Beyblade X bays were coming out is that a lot of the new Beyblade layers, ratchets, bits, and even some CX parts cost quite a bit more compared to what was coming out in 2024. Now this wasn't every bay, but enough bays were being affected to make this price change stand out. Looking at bays like Shark Scale, this bay very much seems like a must-buy for its blade, ratchet, and bit. You can't go wrong with having it, but it's going to cost you $40 being locked in a deck set. That's a decent amount of change. Interested in using Hover Wyvern in your deck? Well, if you want to use the Hasbro version, it'll cost you $50. This will also give you an Impact Drake, which eases the price a little bit, but $50 is still a decent amount of money, and going the route of getting the TT one could potentially cost you a couple hundred instead, being locked behind a non-Big at Battle lottery system. And finally, let's say you want to use a competitive CX combo since they now have one in Pegasus Blast combined with the Wheel Assist Blade and Valkyrie Volt Metal Lock Chip. To get your hands on that combo's complete layer, only the layer itself could cost you upwards of $400. Cerberus Flame costing $80 since it's a random booster prize, Pegasus Blast being a $30 starter, and the Valkyrie Volt Blade, which you only need the chip for, that itself could cost you $350, being locked behind the Big at Battle. I don't know about you, but I know I'm not that independently wealthy, and I'm sure a lot of other people might find themselves in the same boat, with the price of some of these parts really pricing them out. Now, if we compare these prices to the cost of the competitive staples of 2024, this is a night and day difference in terms of price. Some of the best bays for 2024 between Hasbro and TT, Wizard Rod, Phoenix Wing, Drand Buster, Dagger, and Shark Edge, getting any of these bays wouldn't cost you more than $20 a piece, maybe $35 to $40 for Drand Dagger only. A significant difference. Do you guys see where I'm getting at here? Competitive Beyblade X in 2024 could definitely be expensive, but not nearly as expensive as what we see now, and that's not good. Now immediately, a counter argument that many people watching this video are going to have is that if the Japanese prices are so bad, just wait for these bays to get their Hasbro release in a couple months, and buy them when they're $10 a piece. Well, if it was 2024, then that would be a good argument. However, in 2025, Hasbro Bladers unfortunately aren't safe from the Beyblade price hike either, as within the shadows, Scalpers have entered the chat. Scalpers are the type of people that everyone knows and hates for the negativity they bring to any hobby. They love to target TCGs, but it seems now with some of Hasbro's budget releases, they've slithered their way into the Beyblade X hobby, gobbling up whatever budget-friendly Beyblades they can find. These are your Wizard Rods, Phoenix Wings, Tide Whales, Cobalt Dragoons, etc.
Oh, yeah, there it is. There it is. The usual suspects.
Given how impactful bays like Tide Whale boosters and other bays can be, everyone is going to be looking for these bays, with many having yet to find one. At $8, $10, even $20 a piece, these bays are great deals. So for sure, no one wants to pay upwards of $20 or more to get a bay that normally goes for $8. But that's what Scalpers are going to charge for these boosters, or double whatever other products go for. And you're going to need these parts if you want to compete in Beyblade tournaments, so you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Can you avoid paying scalper prices? Yes. but that will only go so far, as others may not be. If they really want to get the competitive edge in Beyblade X, they're probably just going to suck it up and pay whatever price a scalper wants for whatever competitive bays they have, which means scalpers will only stick around the hobby longer, since there will be money to be made, and the average blader will slowly get priced out. But even scalpers are not the only issue in the grand scheme of this Beyblade X price problem, as aside from high prices and scalpers, Grand Theft Beyblade has also begun to strike. Now, if dealing with scalpers nabbing up all the best Hasbro bays wasn't enough to make Beyblade X prices expensive, the final detriment to Beyblade X becoming more expensive, or even harder to find, is that competitive Beyblade parts are also being stolen off of store shelves at a record pace. This mainly started around the time Hasbro's summer releases were beginning to hit store shelves, and no bay is safe from this. Myself and others have seen this happen on multiple occasions, and aside from theft in general being wrong, its existence can have detrimental effects on the Beyblade hobby. If this keeps up, every blader out there is going to have an even tougher time getting the bays they want for their decks and collections, and as many have pointed out, if this part theft gets to the point of being uncontrollable, then storefronts could potentially take matters into their own hands and pull all Beyblade products off their shelves. This all spells disaster for what is supposed to be a fun hobby for all. And when you can't find bays in stores, where are you going to resort to looking? So those are my thoughts for why I think Beyblade X is becoming more expensive. Now, by no means am I saying that this Beyblade X price problem is here to stay. It can be fixed, and I hope it does. That being said, this problem also can't be ignored or swept under the rug. Beyblade X is continuing to gain more popularity with every passing day. And if stuff like this continues, I'd hate to think about what it could do for Beyblade X's future. We're not there yet, but we're heading that way. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching.